Welcome to Resilience Plus Rise, the podcast where we transform adversity into triumph, illuminate the extraordinary potential within us. I'm your host, Thomas Scaria. I'm a resilience coach, an ultra marathoner, and a firm believer in your next most powerful chapter. This podcast is a companion to my upcoming book, Resilience Plus Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Transform, to Unleash Your Marathon of Life, coming spring 2025. Here we amplify stories of hope, perseverance, and success to inspire your journey. When I say these words, hope, perseverance, success, I'm honored to have today's guest who has gone through all these elements. It resonates within her about who she is. My guest today is Nattolie Chilton. A- She has a powerful story of transforming pain into purpose. Pain, we could call it as mental, emotional, physical, and to a certain extent spiritual. She has gone through it all. Her journey has been marked by challenges right from her home and her growing years. Natalie, she has written a fantastic book, Unsilenced. Use your voice. Words hold power. It chronicles decades and decades long journey of her being pushed to the ground, whether it was through, as I mentioned, at a safe home environment or it was for domestic violence, exploitations, you name it. Natalie has gone through it. So, without wasting much time, let me get to you to the spotlight. Natalie, Natalie, welcome to Resilience Plus Rise, the podcast.
Hello, thank you, Thomas. Hello, guests. I'm excited to be able to use my voice here.
Fantastic. So, Natalie, as from our dialogue and our conversations, what you mentioned and about you going through the pain and how you changed it into purpose. So, if I ask you, how do you define pain? Maybe right from the growing years to now, and what happened?
Well, for me, wow, it's such a long journey, and it seems like another person now. And in fact, I am another person. So, just looking back on my childhood, I had a couple of experiences with sexual abuse. So, and the secret keeping of that. And when I was 5 years old, I was left in the hospital for tonsils, and they kept me longer. And so I was in the hospital about 5 days, and there was a doctor in there who was abusing me in this private room. And my parents didn't come and see me. And it was actually my kindergarten teacher who, I think around the fourth day, came to see me. And I just felt so abandoned in there. And that changed me. When I came home, I had, from kindergarten, I had just blackout depression, and I carried this throb in my solar plexus, carrying that secret. I didn't have words for it. And then actually in the last 2 years, I found out that 10 other girls in my hometown had experienced abuse by this doctor who went back to Cambodia. So I wasn't the only one. And just like you, listener, I know there are many listeners who experience, sexual abuse. And for me, it happened also 2 years later with a young girl in my community. And that really twisted my identity, made me question my sexuality. And that was stacked with a lot of illicit materials, reading materials, and actually pornography on the walls, which I consumed from a 7, 8, 9-year-old. My brother had porn, had Penthouse on his walls. So that really molded me. Um, and funny enough, at the same time, my mom feared that I would be promiscuous. She was scared because I was attractive and acting out sensually because of the sexual abuse she had no clue about. So she was at the same time, speaking basically, bad girl over me, that I was that. So that's where that a vow came into place, where, when we have certain things, you're a champion, you're a winner, you are a great musician. Well, I had, that I was bad, and I internalized that wrongness and carried it with me. And I call it a pain bomb. So I carried a pain bomb with me, actually left the home the day after graduation without saying goodbye. So that was the kind of family I grew up in. And just many other things. If you want to hear the depth
Sure.
of this story.
Not
Yeah.
so now let's move to that. Okay, you
Mhm.
moved out,
Yes.
went out to the city, or went out seeking for happiness or life that you felt that was beckoning you. What happened then?
Well, I'll just back up. So at 12, I started drinking and drugging voraciously and being promiscuous. Um, you know, Seeking love from boys, seeking love from men. And there was, older men in the community who took advantage of a lot of young girls also. So I was, my brain was compromised hugely, with the, because we have arrested development when we use substance. And so I started at 12, 13, 14, alcohol, a lot of alcohol, cigarettes, and pot. And that really was a constant till I was about 35. But when I moved to the big city, I was just, I actually moved with my big sister. They had to get me out of town because I'd had a car accident. I was death wishing every which way. My actions were saying I was trying to kill myself, and I was, because of so much pain. And I wanted somebody to care and say, "What are you doing?" But I didn't get that. So I just kept going on. I actually reached out to an escort agency at the age of 19. When I moved to the big city, all that programming that I was bad, all the porn, all the sexual abuse, it's very common for people with those experiences to actually get involved in that way, in either sexual massage or prostitution is very common. So so that was very short-lived, thanks to an angel encounter that kind of swept me away from that. And then within 2 years' time, I met a very destructive man who was twice my age and a sex addict. And he became the father of my 2 children. And so that domestic, violent, narcissistic relationship was kind of just in this bubble where people didn't know what was going on between us. And domestic violence happened, and police were involved. And then I ended up lying. Actually, I was scared I was scared. The police actually put him in jail. And then he came, he came outside of the order to keep him away. And he came and he threatened me, and then I caved in. And that was um, a huge mark in my life. This man, yeah.
So here we are talking about early 20s, and then what happened in that journey after that?
That was so there was a couple of instances of domestic violence. So the police were involved. And I was just breaking down further in this, exploitive relationship. He was a sex addict, and I was, engaged in sexual massage, and he was spending the money. So basically, he was my pimp. And he would golf and gamble while I worked. And I was just losing my mind with the kids. And at this time, he was even, beginning the parental alienation process with our two young children, just pitting them against me and starting the psychological, you're not a mother and things like that, and breaking me down. And my brother was mentally ill, so he would say, "You are crazy like your brother." Meanwhile, I am just breaking apart because of the sexual abuse and because of all this trauma, and then in the domestic violence. So I am breaking apart in like 10 different directions, and living a secret life because I didn't have friends and I didn't tell my family. I didn't feel like I could ask for help. So that was where, my relationship with God really began to develop, where I was, the Spirit was just inspiring me to be grateful. So I began a practice of gratitude, even amid this insanity. So I had rose-colored glasses that were very helpful, and I still had addictions that were very helpful. And that's just really fallen into place even the last couple of weeks, seeing that these mechanisms of denial and addiction are actually our friends when we are absolutely fragmented and in agony. So I just say to the listener, extend compassion to yourself. That's something that I missed. I was just so hard on myself for so long, but I say you are doing the best you can. And I encourage you to just see yourself as the little kid that you once were, and just treat yourself in that way. Be your own best friend. And it can be a slow, strange practice, but that self-compassion is fuel for your healing. Yeah.
So, guys, I will be putting out Natalie's connections where she can be connected, and do reach out to her because, as she mentioned, she knows what pain has been, whether it is being alienated from her parents or going through the journey, which was not, as we just heard. I would not want to repeat that, but again, with her own children also, where it was difficult to create an environment where it could be like a family with a husband on another side. So do reach out to her. So, Natalie, coming to the point is that our our truest purpose comes from the deepest of our pains. You mentioned the word that you started understanding it spiritually. But then, if you look back, was there a pivot point wherein, because you looked at everything, okay, fine, this is what life is, abused, doing your massages, doing your drugs, but was there a pivot point that you said something is not right?
I just want to complete the thought. Yes, there was a pivot point. but I'm going to finish my thought in that uh, eventually in that relationship with the father of my two kids, he ended up actually alienating them from me and moving to an island. So that was after an up where he hit me and I left the home for the last time when I was 25. Then he moved away with my kids, and it was a decade-long parental alienation, decade-long plus parental alienation situation, which has, the worst pain of my life above everything. So for those in parental alienation, you can make it through. Hold on. It is, and don't keep it secret. So the pivot point after that destruction, there are predators out there who recognize dissociated people. I was very isolated. So when I hit that bottom, I went even further. And that is that's in my book, Unsilenced, Use Your Voice, Words Hold Power. What happened next, where I encountered some even worse people. And that was a major breaking point, which took me to neurolinguistic school in Vancouver in 1997, the fall, with Dr. Marilyn Atkinson at Erickson College in Vancouver. And that was a 6-year journey, getting my solution-focused degree, starting to unravel some of the secrets. And even after that, again, I got tied up with another bad man. And after my first year in college, I received my second installment of my student loan. My new husband spent all the money just before the baby was born. So when that baby was born, 1 week later, we were homeless on the street, and ended up living in a van until September. So quite a few months living in just a metal shell of a van, homeless. And so I know what rock bottom is, and so it was almost like I get a little bit of elevation, and then get back into another bottom, but the bottoms were getting like more shallower. So it's almost like being in the ocean. You go up and then boom, you hit the sand, like a body surfer who like eats some dirt. I like that analogy. So over and over and over again, this would happen until 2011. There was a turning point in my sobriety. So I had achieved enough healing, and that's what I really like to support people with is, we use addiction when we're in pain. That's the source of it, and when we're disconnected. So finally, I got sober June 11th, 2011, and a lot of just good things, just the rock climbing up the cliff, up the mountain. Since then, higher and higher and higher and clearer, and then writing the book from 214 to 224. Took me 10 years to write my story, and that was real unearthing, and even getting the roots of the pain out. So it's a long process, but it's worth it, right, Thomas?
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's move currently. What you have learned through the struggles, and that's what we always say is that it's through the struggles we get ourselves more stronger. And now the reason people turn to you is because they have seen how strong you are to grow. It took a while, but you did grow. And so, if you could just take us to what are your current projects that you have been involved with, or what are you doing to make
Sure.
life meaningful for others?
Mm. The last 5 years have really been coming into my true identity fully. And
Hmm.
that is, as somebody who loves the stage, I was always in drama as a kid. So I began speaking. I did a storytelling process where I told my true story. That was actually the first revealing. It's called Return to Love, revealing the parental alienation and the moment and this period of sobriety, getting sober. It's a really fun story, Return to Love. Um, so that was the process. The I just felt called. It was time for me to speak. So I took the courses from 2020. I immersed in a group support to get visible on camera like us right now, and to be able to speak by using a somatic process to release the trauma so that I could maintain my thoughts and not get confused, because trauma tends to do that. It creates a confusion in the central nervous system. So speaking, there is an exciting, I've been invited to speak October 3rd through 5th in Romania at an inner
Congratulations.
transformational event, a keynote. This is a dream come true. Um, What else? What else? Finally got, after working for, the decade of writing the books, writing for 30 years, processing emotions all my life. But finally, August, I was part of a collaboration called the Ripple Effect of Impact book. And then Unsilenced was finally published December the 5th, 2024. And we just released another collaborative resilience anthology too, with my warrior writer family in America. There are a bunch of American writers. So I really feel like I've never had so much success in all my life. This is a dream come true. And I'm just amazed. And so I just want to say to the viewer, you know, the impossible can become possible. Just keep going, and keep showing your real self. Because when people see your real self, when we stop hiding, then amazing things can happen.
Fantastic. That last couple of statements were powerful. But Natalie, again, when people are, in your own case, you were in the rock bottom, or you were like literally going deeper than the rock bottom, also, if you can say that. For them, they don't see anything. For them, it is still a challenge to them, and as well as the other people, because what I see is that everybody goes through their own challenges, and the weight that they give the challenges depends on their own mindset or what is the environment like. What would you like to suggest? I'm not asking for advice, because advice is easy to be given, but some of your life learnings that you've gone through, what would you talk to them about?
Probably one of the most important things would be to just learning how to actually be with the pain and the grief of whatever it is. And so we try to run away from it. Um, but in order to process that, we need to really feel it. So we need to feel it to heal it. So I had Rosen method therapy, where somebody compassionately laid their hands on me for over 7 years. And then I would, speak of some of these things, of my fears, speak of things that I wasn't, just be honest. So being witnessed is really important. I don't think that we can fully heal alone in a vacuum. We need somebody to see us and mirror, compassion and love, and let ourselves be supported. So learning to, and it's not, that is not fun advice, learning to be with pain.
Hmm.
But when we're going through sobriety, when we're going through healing from deep, hard experiences, there is a period of painful just walking. It's like you with your marathoning. You keep running and it hurts. You keep running and it hurts. And you stay with it and you stay with it and you stay with it until you cross that finish line. And you will cross the finish line if you stay with it. And at the darkest point, I always found when I felt just the blackest, if I just took that next step, it would be brighter than ever before. So know that, and through now almost 14 years sober, and even before I was sober, it holds true. It's darkest before the dawn, but the dawn is coming. I guarantee you. Don't give up. Never.
Super. So, guys, again, if this resonates in any way, you want someone to listen to you, reach out to Natalie. Maybe she may be with something else, but she has mentioned about a community. She can always direct you to somebody who would be able to spend some time. You can approach me. I may not have all the answers, but I can listen for sure. But there is always help that is available. As I've been saying in my podcast, is that we all are angels with one wing. When we hold to another, that's when we can fly higher. So reach out. That is important. Please, Natalie.
One more thing. I am a certified counselor. I am a truth coach. And I do, therapeutic massage in northern Alberta, if you're anywhere around there, all kinds of specialty support to heal, and even over the phone with nutrition. So I am open to support 100% as you are, Thomas. So breakupwithsecrets.com is my website.
I'll be putting that on to the comments and do reach out. So, Natalie, just being mindful of the time, are there any last words, parting words that you would think about before we can end or let this conversation come to an end at this point of time?
I would just encourage people to actually pick up my book. If somebody's in an addiction, if somebody is in recovery, like just domestic violence, or just in a big mess in their life, that and my audio is coming out right away for people who don't read. And that was, it's an encouraging story of hope, ultimately, but it's also the grinder, so people know they can do it too. They can heal
Wow,
too. That's all.
great. Thank you is a very small word, but guys, what we just heard was you can, what is really required is to embrace your authentic self. It is there deep within. You can break free from toxic identity, physical, mental, emotional. You can find truth amidst adversity, and you can see the transformative power of using your voice. What we saw was a story of hope, healing, and most of all, when I talk about resilience, it is the unwavering strength of a human spirit. Natalie, thank you so very much for your time and space. It has been a beautiful journey, and I sincerely hope this will be a page turner for anybody who's listening to our conversation. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Thomas.